What's up, guys? Before we get started today, I did want to make a quick announcement. And as I'm always looking to expand the offerings on my site or on Twitter or whatever it might be, I've finally broken down and I am going to offer a Slack channel, a private Slack channel for subscribers and other things that we're doing. It's something that's been pretty popular across the industry. I'm a part of a few different Slack channels, and I think it's a really good place to have an ongoing conversation throughout the week, be able to share just one-off visuals or graphs or whatever it might be. And then Slack has a lot of cool integrations where, I'm getting the player news fed into it. So with that being said, in the near future, a Slack channel, a private Slack channel for DFS On Demand members is going to become available. However, I don't want it to start with just one person and myself. So what I'm doing is, if you are interested, leave a comment below in the video. Say something about Slack so that I know you're interested in the Slack portion of it and you're not just commenting on the video. And what I'll do is I'll reach out to, a handful, maybe a dozen or so, however many might be interested. I'll pick a group of you and we'll just get into the Slack channel so that when this does become kind of an offering to members, there's at least some baseline discussion there. I don't want it to be just me waiting for everyone to show up. So we'll see. We'll kind of test this out over the course of the next, couple weeks, and we'll see how it goes. So again, if you're interested in joining that and you're going to be a active member of the Slack channel and the community and you want to have these discussions, leave a comment below and just reference something in Slack, and we'll see how many responses I'll get, and we'll start inviting people over there and see how it goes. All right, on to the golf. What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with a preview for the Honda Classic. With the new scheduling this year, this field is still pretty good, but not as good as we have seen in the past. But what we are going to see are these guys struggle quite a bit, because PGA National is a par 70 and ranks anywhere between like the second most difficult course on the PGA Tour and the 10th most difficult course, depending on the winds, which can kick up. But this is year after year a very difficult track where there's going to be lots of water in play. There are going to be lots of bunkers in play. We are on the Florida swing, and no lead is safe. When you get to the bear trap, which is 15, 16, 17, which is one of the three hardest closing stretches on the PGA Tour, like, no lead is safe. There are going to be massive cut sweats this week, and your guys might not even need to be under par to make the cut. We've seen, often, almost regularly, this cut line is going to be over par. I think last year it was 5 or 6 over. It can play really, really difficult. So we'll talk about the key stats that we're looking for, but I also have some new features and things to show off. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get into this. And you're looking at the newly updated PGA cheat sheet. This and everything else you see is available on dfsondemand.com. I need to update the formatting a little bit, but pricing came out late today, and I just wanted to get this going as quickly as possible. So what you're seeing differently is now the recent form chart, for lack of a better term, it's technically a matrix, also includes European Tour events, which can come in handy. So this is now all the worldwide events. Before, we were only looking at the PGA Tour. Now we're looking at guys who play on both the Euro Tour. We're seeing everything. So to give you an example here, let me see if I can find a good example, actually. There was really only one. Okay, Austin Truslow played the Super 8 Perth on February 17th, and then he played the Puerto Rico Open on the 24th. So that's how you're reading this. So we'll talk through guys who are playing well here, and let's just kind of scroll down this together. Cam Smith, coming off of a fresh 6th place finish at the WGC Mexico, he pops off. He now has 3 top 15s in his last 4 starts worldwide. Chris Stroud has 2 top 10s in his last 3 starts. Gary Woodland has not finished worse than 17th in his 3 starts since the Farmers Insurance. That was the Farmers Insurance. It was the Phoenix Open, and it was the WGC Mexico last week. So you can kind of see how this new chart really makes it easy to identify guys. And it's, again, the worldwide aspect of this is really cool. JT, you know, that charge he made in Mexico yesterday on Sunday finishes in 9th place. That's 3 straight top 10s. He had a 2nd place at the Genesis. He had a 3rd place at the Waste Management. He is going to be your, favorite in the clubhouse. So just to kind of see what you're working with here. This is a pretty slick little thing that I've built. And then if we scroll down a little bit, this is a little bit more familiar. Again, kind of still working on the formatting a little bit. I had to rebuild all of this, but what you're seeing is now every single one of the players sorted by salary. I don't have their win percentage or their ownership yet because a lot of stats were not out. Again, DraftKings really late on releasing the salaries this week. And then we have their course history from 2018 to 2010. And then I also added this week the strokes gain numbers. So this is just one of the new things. Also, I got this question a lot. Now the headers are frozen at the top, so you can scroll down and not lose your spot. So we'll continue to make improvements to this, but hope this is a lot better. All right, let's talk about the guys over 10,000. So JT is 11,900, which is basically the most expensive you ever get for a golfer. 12,000, I think we've seen before. It's been a long time since anybody has gotten over $12,000. This is basically the most that you can ever charge for a golfer, and it's no surprise. I mean, JT's absolutely scorching hot. He's the hottest player on the tour. He's your defending champion here at PGA National. Like, he has to be priced in this spot. But there's someone else in this 10K range that I think is even more not more interesting. He's definitely more interesting. He might not be a better play, but he's more interesting. And it's Brooks Koepka. Koepka's at 10,700. And I imagine a lot of ownership is going to go either up to JT or Ricky, or it's going to come down to Sergio or Adam Scott, leaving Koepka kind of in the middle. Missed the cut here at PGA National last time he played it, but that was 2 years ago. And then didn't look very good at WGC Mexico, right? I think he was T27, which if you're looking for Brooks Koepka, that's not really, what we're expecting to get out of a multi-major winner. But let me show you this. And this is, I think I'm on this slide or on this page. This is another new tool. This is round by round strokes gained for any golfer that you want, for any strokes gained stat that you want. So what you're looking at right now is Justin Thomas tee to green every single round. So this right here is round 1 at the Century of Tournament of Champions to round 4 at the WGC Mexico. And then you can choose the stats. So here's his approach numbers, which are pretty outrageous, by the way. But you can kind of click through. You can do his total stats. You can do everything here. It's pretty slick. Let me show you Brooks and why this is kind of a little interesting here. So let me see if I can do this. All right, so here's Brooks tee to green. Now, we only have 8 rounds for him. I'm looking specifically at the WGC Mexico, where he gained tee to green every single round. A half a stroke, then 1.5 strokes in rounds 2 and 3, and then 4.5 strokes in round 4. Okay, played much better as the week went on, gained tee to green all 4 days. Here's his putting stats. Lost strokes putting every single round, including losing 3.5 on the greens on Sunday, which is absolutely wild. No chance he loses 3.5 strokes. Maybe ever again. That might be one of his worst rounds of his career. If I scroll up just a little bit, this is that Who's Hot tool. So again, we're getting more data for this. And what we can see is I'm gonna just click tee to green. I want to see the tee to green guys. Brooks Koepka is the hottest tee to green, basically from their 30-day strokes gained average to their more normal, like, long-term strokes gained. The hottest player, again, it's a little bit of a small sample size, but just to show you this, hottest player, 5.4 average strokes gained. And then you look at putting, and you switch to putting, and he's the absolute coldest player, losing 2 strokes over his, career long-term average in the short term, which is insane, right? I don't think I've ever seen a guy who's been in a specific category the hottest and the coldest in another category. And Brooks Koepka, he's not like a great putter, right? But he is certainly much better than this. I think his career average is something like he gains like a half a stroke a round. So there is plenty of room for improvement for Brooks this week as he, I assume he's going to come back to the norm here. So I'm going to probably invest a bit in Koepka in GPPs. Candidly, I've not had a good run in GPPs this year. In 2019, I've basically won every head-to-head contest I've played in the last month, and which is keeping my bankroll nice and fluffy, but not had a lot of good GPP success. But we're going to try to turn that around this week. All right, the next range is where it gets really interesting because I think there is a pretty significant drop-off here. Gary Woodland, we kind of chatted about, a good recent form. He finished second here in 2017. I think Webb Simpson is a guy we'll talk about more in a second when we get to the strokes gain numbers, but just to kind of show you where this drops off, here's Grillo, and I really do wonder what Grillo is going to come in at this week because he's $8,900. He, last week he was very popular. He's been popular the last few weeks. He has an 8th place finish last year, but if we actually go and look at his round by round numbers, here are his approach stats. And I think, the thing that you kind of invest in for Grillo is that approach game. And you can see he's now lost strokes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of his last 7 rounds. Obviously not a good trend to be on. And we can check his putting stats. Yeah, I mean, losing putting, like that is what has usually kept him afloat, right? I mean, he's not a good putter. He's only gained strokes putting in 2 of his, 4, 8, 12, 15 rounds this year, 2 out of 15. Absolutely brutal on the greens. And if he's not going to be throwing darts, you're in a lot of trouble. So I can't imagine going back to him this week, even though this is a weaker field. I don't think I can do it. We'll run through this pretty quickly because I do want to get back to the other tools here. I think there's some more interesting tidbits. Russell Knox, who had as a 2nd and 3rd here in the past, in 14 and 15. He has missed the cut in his last 2 starts, but I think he's interesting. He's also played well recently. Let's see. I thought there was someone else down here. Johnson Wagner. If you go all the way down to 6,400 or 60, I want to say 6,600, 6,500. Johnson Wagner has played well coming into this. Actually, let's go to his recent form. He's right here, coming off a 2nd at the at the Puerto Rico Open, 57th at, which is just making the cut at Pebble Beach, and I think he had a couple of made cuts prior to that. But the problem is he has missed the cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight attempts here at the Honda Classic, which is absolutely brutal. But I've seen his name floated around, and for 6,600 or 6,500, I guess you could do much worse, but it would have to come with 6 straight missed cuts. Let's go back to the strokes gain tool. I think this is where there's a lot of interesting things here. So looking at strokes gained total, right? So versus salary. JT pops off, obviously. And then here's the range of guys that, I think are the next most interesting, which is Scott, Sergio, Woodland, Cam Smith. And then the values down here, Michael Thompson is going to be popular. Coke Rack. Johnny Vegas has actually had a couple of good finishes here in the past. He can get really hot. I would not mind Johnny Vegas. But let's look more tee to green. See if anybody else pops off. Not really. Let's do approach. Here we go. Matt Wallace, almost primarily a Euro player, did get 4 rounds in at WGC Mexico, gained 3.6 strokes on average, which is pretty crazy. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's per tournament. So he gained total 3.6 strokes last week. In only 4 rounds, but that's a good sign. Vegas playing well in his 12 rounds this year, and with his good course history, you could probably get me to invest at $6,800. He's probably going to be a guy who fits a lot of my a lot of my lineups. And actually, I'm sorry, this is what I'm quoting right now is around the green, not approach. My apologies. These greens are difficult to hit. There are a lot of bunkers around the greens. Like, you are going to have to get up and down like a madman. So these guys that I'm mentioning that I said earlier was approach, it is actually around the greens. My apologies, but everything still stands, right? I mean, Matt, this is a very important stat this week, which you're going to see in a second when I get to the core stats. Now we will go to approaches, and it is no surprise. JT is up here. Sergio is another guy that we were a week early on. We played him in his bad week, and he would have made us a lot of money in, I think, the other 2 weeks that we did not play him. Webb Simpson's on here too. I think he's a guy that is in that second tier of pricing that probably goes pretty overlooked. I could play a lot of Webb Simpson this week. And then let's go back to these key stats here. So if you're new to the channel, first off, welcome, thanks. Second of all, this is the correlation model that I've put together. This is where I think we're going to identify a lot of value and a lot of interesting things here. I ran correlation or regression model, excuse me, for the last 12 years of the PGA Tour, looking at which PGA stats correlated with DraftKings success. For PGA National, the top two were putting stats, putts from 10 to 15 feet, and then putts over 10 feet. Again, that is the 10 to 15 feet could be a pretty small sample size, but putts over 10 feet is pretty interesting. Both the fact that there's two putting stats, obviously putting is going to be important. So strokes gained putting you'd want to look at, or putts over 10 feet. Interesting to see sand saves in here. Not a stat we usually see, but that kind of goes into our strokes gained around the green. You have to be really good here. There's a lot of bunkers. So I did include around the green stats. Approaches over 275. That's probably a small sample. And then you get the birdie or better and stuff. So let's look through this. All right, putts over 10 feet. The way this is, it's what percentage of putts do you make over 10 feet? Adam Scott, the guy that has finally figured it out with the flag stick in, leads the way in this category. The others that pop off here, Zach Johnson, Patton Kizzire, Graham McDowell. So if you are looking for a mid 7,000s, Graham McDowell has excellent, almost elite course history here. I mean, we can go back. He's 7,600. Graham McDowell's right here. Missed the cut last year, then went 14th, 5th, missed the cut, 46th, 9th, 9th, 6th. So what is that? 5 top 15s in the last 8 years. Did not play particularly well last week in a field that he should have done better in Puerto Rico, but all of his stats for this year, at least his putting stats, his strokes gained stats, his bogey avoidance stats, would fit PGA National. So he's going to be another guy in the mid 7,000s that I'll probably be getting on. Strokes gained around the green, again, going to be so important. The guys that lead the way here, Stuart Sink, Bill Haas, Kevin Tway, Cam Smith, who is going to be a guy I like. And then Jimmy Walker. Unfortunately, some of these guys are pretty unplayable, right? They're just kind of elite in one area. I will not be playing Jimmy Walker. I will probably not be playing Kevin Tway or Bill Haas. Cam Smith here is the only guy I'd really be interested in. Russell Knox does show up. Mentioned his course history a couple of years ago, and he's playing a little bit better recently. He's like 8th on this list in terms of around the green. I'm going to skip proximity from over 275. I don't even think these guys have enough of a sample size of shots hit from 275 yards and further for this to be even remotely close. I put it on here because it popped up on the model, but I'm not going to cover it. Birdie or better, JT leads the way. I mean, this is where you get the studs, right? JT, Woodland, Fowler, Koepka. So even despite Koepka's, pretty brutal WGC Mexico, still top 4 when it comes to birdie or better. Then you get Ryan Palmer, Taylor Gooch. I'm trying to see if there's any other value. Adam Scott's like 15th on this list, so he's still certainly in play. Cam Smith right behind him, 16th. Luke List shows up here, of course. SDFA, I fixed it here. Whoever tweeted me and said, hey, fix it from SFDA to SDFA, I did it here. I just have to fix it here. So we're making progress. One of these weeks, I'll get to it. Justin Thomas, Gary Woodland, Lucas Glover, Ricky Fowler, Taylor Gooch, and there's that Michael Thomas who's going to be chalk in the $8,000 range. Then Adam Scott and Koepka. So a lot of similar names here. So we're going to just have to find that value. For me, it's probably McDowell. It is probably, who was our strokes gain around the green, guys? Or our putts? I probably won't have too much of Johnson Wagner. I might prefer Kokrak at 73. Let's continue to keep going here. Here's a good one. Bogey Avoidance. Talking about how difficult this course is going to be. Bogey Avoidance is a percentage stat. So it's what percentage of holes do you make a bogey or worse on? So Lucas Glover leading the way at 8.9 is 8.9% of the holes he makes a bogey or worse on. So guys that like this is why JT's so elite, right? I mean, he's top 10 in, he's number 1 in birdie or better, and he is like 9th in bogey avoidance. Like really good stats to have when you're a golfer. But other guys in here include Berger, who we kind of always get in the Florida swing, but a little bit too expensive for me. Kevin Tway. Here's Webb Simpson again, who probably goes overlooked in the mid-9s. Furyk is on here. Furyk played well at Pebble Beach. You could probably get a few shares out of him for me. And it's starting to look like it might be one of those weeks that we get back on Taylor Gooch. Birdie or better numbers were great. SDFA numbers were great. Strokes gain numbers were great. Bogey avoidance numbers were great. Let's just go see. Let me see what I have on him real quick. We're going to wrap this up here. I know we're already going long, but let me see if I can find the Gooch and just see what he's done. So we don't have strokes gain numbers since round 3 at Pebble Beach. Oh, man. It's a pretty long time ago. Lost 3.7 strokes on approach. Yeah, I mean he hasn't even played. Or I guess I shouldn't say he hasn't played. I don't have strokes gain numbers on him since February 9th. Other than that, he was playing really well until Waste Management didn't play well. AT&T did not play well. I might have. Did he play? Give me 1 second. We're going to do this together. When's the last time Gooch played? He hasn't played since Pebble Beach. So 2 straight missed cuts. I wonder what he's been up to. Might be a guy to take a pretty good flyer on if you just want to write off, hey, Waste Management, write off Pebble Beach. You'd think he'd be a pretty good fit for PGA National at a pretty decent price. There you go. That is the preview for the Honda Classic. Let me know what you think of the new tools. They're obviously, as you guys know, always being improved. So I'll tweak them. I'll change the formatting, make them a little easier to read, whatever. But now's the time. Get your suggestions in. If you see something that you don't like, or you see something you want me to expand on, or you don't see something, let me know. Tweet me. It's at DFS On Demand, or leave a comment below. I will talk to you guys soon. Good luck this week.